What's up guys, this is Retro Collector 101 back here with another video, and in this video we will be comparing the biggest consoles of the 16-bit era. Number 1 being the Sega Genesis against the Super Nintendo. So in this video we'll be going through a 3-step process, number 1 being the controllers, number 2 being the add-ons, and number 3 being the games. So without further ado, why don't we jump straight into the video. So starting off with Sega's controller actually has 3 buttons. This is great at first since it was released 2 years before the SNES, but in the end is really not that great since Nintendo's controller has 4 buttons and 2 triggers. So moving on to the D-pad, since Nintendo wins the buttons race, Sega actually has a better D-pad. I find that it's a bit more comfortable for the thumb since it is more round, while the SNES has a more not really comfortable D-pad, especially compared to Sega. Although Sega does have a better D-pad, I really find that the buttons are more important, which is why I think that Nintendo wins the race for this category. Now, add-ons wise, we just have to start with one thing. Sega's console was released 2 years before the release of the SNES, meaning that it is not as strong as the SNES. It can only process 64 colors at a time out of its 112 color palette, while the SNES can process about 20,000 colors at a time. So that is clearly a lot better for the SNES. Now on top of that, since the SNES was released much later, it actually has a lot of better 3D games because it is more compatible with that. So because of that, Sega decided that they had to release some add-ons to enhance the capabilities for their own consoles. The add-ons that were released for the console was the 32X and the Sega CD. Sadly, I do not have the 32X on me right now, and I only have the Sega CD, but from my understanding, both the add-ons were really not that great since the library wasn't that great overall for both of them. To add on to that, the 32X's library is very small, meaning that there are fewer choices, and the Sega CD's discs are getting old now and are starting to rot these days actually. To add on, the Sega CD is a bit clunky and is really not that mandatory for you to have, especially if you're a collector like me. Now for the SNES on the other hand, Nintendo actually needed something to go against these add-ons, so what they did was something quite interesting. They actually added a better graphics chip inside of the cartridge so that you didn't have to get a separate add-on for these extra capabilities. These add-ons actually work out quite well and actually does the job amazingly. They also had the special chip that went inside of the console in front of it that they used for the N64, but that's for the N64, not the SNES. So overall, I think that Sega wins the add-on race. It's a bit unfair because I know that the games are better on the SNES, but again, Sega does have better add-ons and a bigger library of add-ons since they did release more. And again, they're a bit more physical while the ones on the SNES are mainly inside the cartridge, so you can't really tell if it has the add-on or not. So now why don't we move on to the games. So Nintendo and Sega actually had a lot of games in common. They both released like Golden Axe or Street Fighter on their consoles. So regarding those games, Nintendo made theirs look a bit more childish, at least in my opinion, so it has less blood and is less realistic. So honestly, I feel like the Sega's console is more like the arcade version and feels more like the arcade as well. But when it comes to the exclusives, Sega only has Sonic the Hedgehog and maybe the Dolphin game, but really who plays the Dolphin game? And Sonic the Hedgehog is only one game, while Nintendo has Donkey Kong, they have Mario, all of those amazing games, and quite a few variations of Mario. So they have Super Mario, Super Mario World, that's just only to name a few. Now they also have Zelda on top of that. So honestly, although Sega is more like the arcade, Nintendo does have more games, more exclusives as well, which is why I honestly think that Nintendo should win this race. So overall, Nintendo does gather more points than Sega, but you gotta think about it deeply because Nintendo did release their console 2 years after the release of the Sega Genesis, so it really isn't fair for Sega in their part. Personally, I am more of a Genesis fan, but it's really personal preference. So in this competition, the Nintendo does win the race. So if you are deciding on which console you should get, then maybe you should get the Nintendo console. But if you get the Genesis, then it's totally fine. If you think that my thoughts are somehow wrong, then let me just put it this way.
Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Yes?
Morons.
Anyways, guys, hope you liked the video. If you want to see more content like this, then please hit the subscribe button. And if you really like this video, then hit the like button. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.